Hello, I'm Jared.
And I'm Ebony, and this is his
And hers, Warhammer 40K. Yay!
We're back.
We're back. And today we will be discussing The Lion, Son of the Forest by Mike Brooks.
Right on time for the Lion mini.
That's true. We're a little bit late for the Lion mini to come out, and I know there's the follow-up in Arcs of Omen the Lion, which I will get to eventually. But for now, we are enjoying Mike Brooks as a follow-up to his Alfarius novel.
Which was amazing.
Which was excellent.
Yeah.
Top 3 Primarch novel for me.
Yeah.
This one,
I liked it.
I did too. I thought it was very solid. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a very important afterwards. So I always like to read the afterwards on the novels
I
to
never
get
read
some
the
more
afterward.
explanation for it. Where he explained that this novel had to be the middle section of the Lion story.
Okay.
It could not explain how he woke up.
Okay.
It could not explain his ongoing, where he was going.
Okay.
And so it falls in this spot of
Very middle.
he's awake, he doesn't know what's happening, he doesn't know how he got there, and then at the end, he's on his way to something that we're not really sure of.
What it is.
So you kind of have to take the beginning and end of the books with a little bit of salt, just because, all right, there were editorial constraints on it.
It's very unclear what happened to him before he wakes up, and you don't know where he's going at the end. So I guess those are pet peeves you could have, but I feel like otherwise it's very solid, got a decent story arc, excluding the how did we get here and where are we going parts.
Yep.
But within, as a self-contained novel, I felt like it was fine. I have one tiny complaint, but that's about it.
I have a few of them.
Yeah.
But the biggest element that I thought was the biggest positive of this is the Fallen.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, the Fallen are those Dark Angels that effectively sided with Luthor during the Caliban Civil War that eventually led to the planet blowing up. And they got flung through time and space because of a warp incident that I won't go into too much.
And they just pop out everywhere.
And they pop out at various times in various places. They previously were not a super well-detailed group. We had a few examples of them throughout history. The work put in here on the Fallen is excellent.
Yeah.
Really top-notch to give them a lot of personality.
Yeah, so the first Fallen that the Lion encounters when he wakes up.
Yeah, so he wakes up
in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't know where it is.
A forest that is not Caliban.
Yes, but it gives
more
him
jungle.
Yeah, it gives him slight Caliban vibes, but it's not Caliban. And he encounters some humans there, and they need his protection from some foresty animals a la Caliban. And so there's this interesting scene where you get to sort of see the lion interact with these humans who are aware of what a space marine is, but not really what a Primarch is. And he protects them, and then they take him to their protector. They have a protector who is also a space marine, and that protector is Zahariel. Zabriel. Zahariel is a famous Dark Angel.
Yes. Not to be confused
with Zabriel, who is a Fallen that the Lion first encounters.
Yeah, Zabriel is a Fallen, a former destroyer. We get a few chapters throughout the book from his point of view.
And I like them a lot, yeah.
Those are probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I think he is a really solid POV character.
For sure.
I think he has a good story arc in terms of he was alone. He's been around for 400 years, I think, and has had some interactions with other Fallen, has mostly been on his own. Great character for the most part.
I think having not read a lot about the Fallen, but having encountered some Fallen in other Warhammer, I think what I wanted more of out of this book was the sort of breadth of types of Dark Angels there could be. And I feel like you really only get two. You get the ones that are called the Fallen, but they just are kind of discarded. They're not necessarily pro-chaos. And then you get the ones who are pro-chaos and literally fallen, right? And I feel like there's sort of a breadth of Dark Angels that I wanted more.
You mean of Fallen?
Of Fallen in general.
So that is the thing. There aren't actually any Dark Angels chapter Marines in this book.
Right, because they would kill all the Fallen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is M41 Dark Angels. They are all super gung-ho on capturing the Fallen
Yeah.
and interrogating them until they confess to their sins.
Yeah, but I just think that dichotomy of being like, we're not necessarily pro-lion because we think the lion might have been a traitor versus we are pro-chaos, right? Like that's a difference. And I feel like we didn't get a lot of the kind of gray area there. We really got, these were sort of accidental Fallen and these are pro-chaos, right? You know,
We got one Fallen that was almost that.
Yes.
In the form of Beveden.
yes.
Beveden was a former librarian who, as a Fallen, basically went to the top of a mountain, decided he's going to just separate himself from everything.
And be a hermit, yeah.
Right. And there's an interesting scene where he's essentially courted by both the pro-lion and pro-chaos Fallen. He ends up siding with the pro-lion
Yeah.
side. But...
At first, he's like, I don't care about either of these things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which I guess is fine. And that is my one complaint, that I feel like the gist of the story is that the lion and Zabriel are going around finding other Fallen, letting them know that the lion's back. And the lion is very unlion-like, not requiring them to join him, but asking them for their help.
Yeah, so the lion is much calmer
Yes.
in this book. Especially throughout his time on Camarth, and then sort of developing that throughout the rest of the book. If you know the lion through the Horus Heresy, the lion is an individual of singular focus.
Yeah.
He has a job, he's going to do that job, and he is not going to let anything get in the way of completing that to a fault.
Yeah.
And I think that what's an interesting dichotomy with someone like Dorn or Guilliman is they understand that occasionally some flexibility is needed in that, either to get to their goal or that the goal is no longer possible. The lion doesn't do that.
He doesn't do that, yeah.
And that has caused some people who have critiqued the Horus Heresy to really come down on the lion's character there pretty hard.
This lion is softer.
He is softer, but I think that is because he still has that singular focus, but that focus is now on protecting humanity.
Yeah.
Like everything that used to give him purpose, serving the Emperor, being part of the Great Crusade, even when he was part of, what do you call it, Imperium Secundus, and was hunting Conrad Kurz. Like those, they were external elements that gave him focus. And throughout this book, it's so much more about him finding an internal focus. And so that's how I interpret this softer lion.
Yeah. No, I think I like this softer lion better than other times I've encountered the lion. I'm reading Ruinstorm right now, and it's definitely a lot of...
I'm going to have you read Dreadwing afterwards, which is my favorite Horus Heresy era Dark Angel story.
Okay, yeah.
That is my favorite of all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not against this softer lion. I think my only pet peeve is that I wish we had seen more of the types of Fallen, and I wish that every Fallen we encountered didn't say yes to him. Right? We didn't get anyone, Beveden a little bit, but we didn't really get anyone who was like, I don't care about chaos, and I don't care about the Imperium, and I don't care about these people, leave me alone. We never got a no, and I just feel like I wanted that tension. Okay. And I wanted to see what this new lion would do.
You know
with
what
that.
would have been a good time for that? So, actually, I will get to that in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, continuing the story, on Camarth, Camarth, I believe, has been essentially conquered
by the 1,000 eyes.
The 10,000
10,000 eyes, yeah.
It's 10 times as strong as the 1,000 eyes.
10 times as many eyes.
Yeah. And five times as many eyes as the 1,000 suns.
That's right. Yeah. So they are a Fallen warband.
Well, they are led
They're mixed, though.
They are mixed. Like, they are a true chaos warband in the M41 sense. They are a mix of all sorts of different groups.
Yeah.
They just happen to be led by a chaos sorcerer Fallen named Seraphax.
Yes, who was a Dark Angel.
Who was a Dark Angel, gave himself fully to chaos, and now half of his head is on fire.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I think that's pretty cool. He's not being burned by it, but it's just like half of his head is constantly on fire.
That's weird. Yeah, and his second in command, Baelor.
Baelor, right? Who's very much, Baelor makes me want to go on a tangent about when designing Horus Heresy characters, I have this whole chart for determining where they stand based on the various loyalties that a Marine can have.
Yes.
And those are loyalties to your Primarch, to your commanding officer, to your homeworld, to Terra, to the Imperium, to the Emperor. Like, it was a huge list that I put up.
And Baelor is definitely loyal to his commander, who just happens to be
Right.
Seraphax,
It
who
happens
is
to be Seraphax.
fully chaos, half his face is on fire. But I think what's interesting about Baelor is that, like, he isn't fully chaos. He's not anti-chaos, but he's just like, you know, my boss says this is the thing that we should do, so we're doing it. And my boss says that these ruinous powers are good for us and will help us do whatever his goal is, so we're doing that. And he is juxtaposed with another, like, higher up amongst them.
Yeah, so among the rest of the 10,000 Eyes, we have representatives like Markog, who is the commander of the Dolorous Guard, sort of like an elite bodyguard group among them.
Who's a crazy person.
He is, I don't remember the name of the chapter, but they're basically a later founding chapter that fell to Slaanesh. It fell pretty hard.
He's full crazy.
Like, he's got a 3-foot long tongue, and you can just cut his head off and you pop it back on.
And, like, Baelor is like, I guess he's here.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really into it.
Yeah.
But he is 100% loyal to Seraphax.
Which is interesting because Markog desperately wants to be in Baelor's position.
Yes, he wants to be second in command, and he doesn't understand why Seraphax sends Baelor to do things, but it's because Baelor is capable of continuous logical thought.
Yeah.
Really, it's so that is interesting, and I do like Baelor as a character a lot.
Among the rest of the 10,000 Eyes, we have Daimora, which was the Canticalix. Very kind of bitchy for a Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah.
Where I do like, they refer to themselves as the New Mechanicum, which I have not heard before, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The others, there's Varkan, who is a former World Eater Terminator. Honestly, kind of just takes up space.
Yeah, the rest of them aren't as cool.
There is a fight later in the book between Varkan and the Lion and, like, the others.
Yeah.
With the exception of the final fight scene, I didn't care for the fight scenes.
I
thought they were a little sloggy.
There's one that I enjoy. We'll get there.
Is it the last one? Not the last one,
No,
but
it's the one before the last one.
that's actually the one I was thinking of.
There is a final fight scene,
Yeah.
and we feel neutral about it, I think.
We'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah. So Camarth is held loosely by the 10,000 Eyes, but they aren't actually there. They just came there, conquered the whole world, and there are just these bands of, like, sort of lost humans that Zabriel's been protecting.
So Camarth was apparently originally a protectorate of a Space Marine chapter called the Ruby Crescents, which has got to be one of the worst names for a chapter I've heard in a long time.
Roosters.
Yes. Honestly, that is what I was thinking of also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they murdered them.
Yeah, the 10,000 Eyes murdered almost all of them, and they're a Blood Angel successor, so they were doing some sort of project to trigger the Red Thirst and the
they
Black
had
Rage.
captives, which I thought was pretty cool,
interesting.
but interesting, but kind of glossed over. So the Lion shows up, and his first interaction with Zabriel is great. They go back and forth. He's trying to make sure it is the Lion. Obviously, it's the Lion, but the Lion is old, which everyone who meets him is like, dude, you're old, which is rude, honestly. But they're convinced, and the Lion agrees that, like, he won't hold anything against Zabriel, right? They have this conversation about who turned on whom, and they decide that they won't have any sort of, there is no bad blood between them, and the Lion tells him he doesn't have to follow him, but Zabriel does. He is loyal to the Lion. And so then they put together this resistance force with the Camarthian people.
Yeah, so they managed to pull together all of the survivors of Camarth, take back the whole planet, essentially.
They make a really cute human honor guard for the lion.
Yeah, the lion guard.
And he's like, I mean, nowhere that I am would be unsafe where you would be able to protect me. But he's like, I guess they need to do this, so I'll just let them.
Yeah, so
It's
he's
very
got
cute.
this like group of 10 humans that follow him around as the lion guard.
Yeah.
It's pretty adorable.
It's adorable. And then he starts doing the weird things.
Yeah, so they are traveling just sort of around, and they're trying to, I think, track down a signal.
Yeah, and the lion feels this like pull into the forest. Like he feels drawn into the forest.
They end up like climbing a mountain range, and then all of a sudden they're not in the mountain range anymore. Because the lion, we don't know how he got this, has developed something that the community is calling Forest Walk.
Yeah.
Which essentially allows him to pop into pre-heresy Caliban, travel a distance, and then pop back out on a different planet. And this is an interesting way of... So he's in Imperium Nihilus. So it's an interesting way for him and a small group with him to travel around Imperium Nihilus without the Astronomicon.
Yeah, so then they pop back out on Avalis?
They pop out on a planet called Avalis, which is a handful of light years away.
Yeah. And has a relatively intact-ish society, but is still under the threat
of the 10,000 eyes.
Of the 10,000 eyes, yeah. And so, they do that thing again. This is the lion. I'm not the lion.
Yeah.
They do that again. And...
This is one of my first pet peeves.
Okay.
Avalis has a Primarch-sized weapon just in storage. And the lion takes that. And that happens to be the gun that his model has. And I know the book has to explain how he got all of his gear.
I mean, he also pulled that sword out of a stone.
Well, the sword, I feel a little bit better. He didn't actually pull it out of a stone.
Okay.
Like, you seem to think that he pulled it out of, like, a random stone.
Yeah.
No, he literally reached into forest space.
Oh, he just pulled it out of warp forest.
Yes.
That's worse, I think.
Really? I don't think it's worse.
Okay,
Because
sure.
I see, like, the lion has armor, his gun, whose name I'm forgetting, his sword, and the Emperor's shield. I am okay with how he got his sword and his shield, and I'm kind of okay with how he got his armor.
The gun, they just had it.
The gun, they just had it.
And it was Primarch sized.
I know it's like, oh, it's been here a long time, and, providence and prophecy and whatnot.
You're not buying it.
That one I'm not buying. That one had me raising eyebrows.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. His armor he wakes up with.
Yes.
Sure, fine. The sword he pulls out of forest space while taking back Camarth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shield is at the end.
We'll get to the shield.
Yeah.
What else? So on Avalis, he's now trying to find information about other Fallen in the area. And I've heard a complaint about this. I don't think it's that bad. That the Dark Angels as a chapter, they hunt all over the place constantly looking for the Fallen.
So why aren't there any actual Dark Angels who find all these Fallen on Echo Station?
Well, it's weird because, like, by the end of this book, the Lion has 21 Fallen. It's been maybe a year in total throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
So he pulls them together real damn fast, and they're relatively close together.
To each other, yeah.
I don't mind this that much. There's a lot of Fallen out there.
Yeah.
And I feel when you have the help of one Fallen, it's easier to find others. Fallen.
Yeah, I guess in defense of this theory, Zabriel has been with other Fallen, right? Which is why he has ideas about where they need to go.
Yeah.
Because he spent 50 to 60 years with this person, but then they seemed kind of chaosy, so he left, right? So he has like a sort of community of Fallen brothers that he's at least softly aware of.
Yep.
Which is fine. Yeah, so now they're on the tail of the 10,000 eyes.
They are traveling around. Do they find Echo Station before they fight the 10,000 Eyes?
I can't
remember.
I believe they do, and I think it is one of the Fallen that they collect who suggests we go to Echo Station because I have brothers there.
So Zabriel tracks down a group of 3 Dark Angels, or Fallen. Kai, Afkar, and Loak.
Who never takes his mask off.
Yeah, so Kai is kind of a Dark Angels-esque version
A
of
pirate?
no,
I feel like he's swashbuckling.
no, of Lucius,
Okay, yeah.
Emperor's Children. Very cocky.
Who I might also
very
describe
asshole-ish.
slightly as a pirate, but yes,
Okay,
that's what I was
fair,
going
yeah.
for. Yeah.
But he's all right. Afkar was a sergeant that trained Zabriel,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the warp nonsense, Zabriel is now several hundred years older than Afkar.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and Loak is actually a reference to an older Fallen. Loak, the Red Whisper, was a known Fallen in some older lore.
okay.
And he wears like the red cowl. He has a plasma gun. He never takes his helmet off.
No one knows what he looks
No one
like.
knows why.
Which is interesting because the lion's like, I mean, I guess I'll trust you. And some of the other fallen are like, but don't you want to know what's under his mask? And he's like, we're not doing that. We're just agreeing to trust each other.
Yeah.
And he does save people's lives. So
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
assuming he's good.
Yep.
And innocent until proven heretic, I guess.
They end up finding a location called Echo Station, which is basically an abandoned Xenos space station that's been taken over by a group of Fallen, like a big group of Fallen. There
Yep.
were like 15 or 16 of them or so.
And they all say yes.
They all say yes. And this is what I wanted to bring
just
up
want
before.
one no.
I feel like this would have been a good time for a few of them to just be like,
No.
No.
Yeah.
You know?
Just one no.
Like,
would
we're
have
not
been fine.
okay with this. So, like, of these 15, 6 of us, we're gone. We're
Yeah.
going somewhere else.
Yeah, that would have been fine. Yeah, it's a lot of yes.
It's a lot of yes. Yeah.
Which, all right, fine. Now he's got 37,000 followers.
No, he's got
Yeah,
like 20.
I know.
What else? They have a fleet together.
Mm-hmm.
They face off against the 10,000 Eyes. No, that happened first. When he fought against Varkan and the
Yes.
fleet battle.
You are right.
There is a space battle in this book.
It's not that great.
It's a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a slog.
Yes, but the point of the space battle is that the 10,000 Eyes point the lion and his not fallen sons into a trap.
Yes.
And that part's cool.
Yep, yeah,
Also, the space ossuary is pretty cool too. The giant bone structure that they build in space above the trap. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the end of this like quick space battle is that like the lion find this floating thing in space above a planet that is made out of the bones of all the people of that planet that points directly to a location, and the lion's like, I guess we're supposed to go there, and everyone's like, that's definitely a trap, and he's like, it'll be fine, we're going. And so that is how they find their way to actually meeting Serafax and Baylor, which we should mention that there was a quick Baylor intervention when Bevadan was deciding yes or no. Like, it was both Zabriel and Baylor at
Yeah.
the same time trying to get Bevadan to
Well,
decide.
there was also a moment in which... Actually, I'll bring that up again. That's another pet peeve.
He's like, I just have one pet peeve,
No,
but
I-
also 7.
I have several, yes. There are a lot of Arthurian legend references in
Yes,
this
there are.
book.
Yes.
There are so many.
Yes.
There's the Fisher King.
Mm-hmm.
There's the King on the Throne. There's the Green Knight reference, which I think that was the one that I was like, I'm done with the Arthurian references.
Yeah, so they follow this trap. They fall into Serafax's trap, and I like this fight.
Yes.
Okay, this is
all
the fight you like.
There's a fight with Serafax. It is so good.
Yeah.
This is my favorite fight of the book. It is my favorite fight of probably the last few books that I've read.
I mean, everything from the start of that fight, like their forces making their way through this thing to get to Serafax,
Yep.
to then everything
Yep.
about that
The
fight
trap,
is great. Yeah,
Serafax explaining his rationale, like why he's doing it. I was like, yes, I did not see that coming. It makes perfect sense
Yeah.
for your character. I love this.
okay, yeah, everything about that was great. And then so Serafax has trapped the lion.
Using a very interesting bit of iron chain made from all of the iron of the human blood of the people they killed on this planet.
To make the ossuary.
Yes,
They were multi-use humans.
Which I did do some of the calculation just to figure out, like, all right, how much blood do you actually need to make this work?
lot.
It's a decent amount. You
a
get
lot.
about a gram of iron per human.
Yep. So if you need to make chains out of it, you need a lot of humans.
You're looking at probably about 10 kilograms of iron. I don't actually know how much chains weigh.
That's a lot of iron, and that is a lot of humans. Yeah, there's a lot of iron in our blood, but not that much.
Yeah.
So he's trapped the lion, and the lion needs saving. And the person who saves him is surprisingly Baelor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Baelor at the end turns on Serafax after Serafax goes full Zench.
Yeah.
Like Serafax has been kind of
He's got
Zenchian the whole
wings
way.
now.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
He is full Zenchian mutation. It's still great for him.
Yeah.
It sucks that Baelor turned on him, but
Yeah.
it was a really great moment.
And then obviously the lion is freed. Baelor stabs Serafax. Serafax claws him, and obviously the claws of a Zench demon aren't good for you. So Baelor's permanently poisoned, and he asks the lion to behead him.
Yes.
So that he dies quickly.
Which he does.
So he does that.
Yep.
And it's a good story arc for Baelor, who I liked from the beginning.
Great for Baelor. It's great for Serafax. Like I said, the Fallen are the best part of this book by far. We end with the lion going back into.
Then it got weird for me.
Well, I know I get that it's weird for you. Anything involving the Watchers in the Dark is going to be weird.
No, it was just the whole post-forest second fight, all of that. It's too much. It could have ended right there.
I agree. And I feel like this fight needed to be in the book. It shouldn't have been here.
Yeah, it could have been in the middle.
So this is how the lion gets the Emperor's shield. And the Emperor's shield is stored in this sort of forest space guarded by, let's call it a Primarch shapeshifter.
Sure.
That can become any of the Primarchs. And the lion has to defeat it as it's trash talking him, as it's going through all of the Primarchs, really just beating him physically and mentally.
Yep.
I do really like this fight. But after the Serafax fight, it felt like too much. I needed this fight before Serafax, because the Serafax fight was such a good finale.
Yeah.
You know, and I get why, all right, now that the lion is back up to who he was, he can handle this now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have put it in the middle.
It felt like too much.
Yeah.
Post Serafax.
Yeah. But then he has the shield, so now he's got all his gear.
Yes. And we end with, I guess I said we end already, but the epilogue is they come in contact with the Blood Angels.
Yep.
And Dante, who wears the face of Sanguinius, is immediately recognized by the lion.
Yep. And that's it.
The end. And that leads into Arcs of Omen, the lion, where he has a run-in with Angron. That's basically all I know about that one so far.
All right.
All right.
What are we back with next?
Wait. Our scores.
Oh, meh. I would give it a solid 6.
Really?
I might give it a 7.
I'm still on 8.
All right.
You
are always an easier grader.
For all of my complaints about this one, I still did enjoy it a lot.
I didn't hate it. I feel like 7 is pretty high.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It was fine.
Okay.
7 out of 10.
So the next book we have is The Iron Kingdom by Nick Kime, which I believe is the 5th Dawn of Fire book.
We're excited
So
for
we'll be continuing that one to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
That's sort of like the backbone of the whole setting for the most part. It's the Indomitus Crusade ongoing. For all these other campaigns going on, the Indomitus Crusade continues.
I'm excited to be back in what is for me future Warhammer, modern Warhammer, I guess. But also, I'm really anxiously awaiting the final Siege of Terra book. That is what I'm waiting for.
Yes. So while we are reading that, Ebony is continuing with Ruinstorm.
I never read that.
As well as Dreadwing.
Yeah, I'll read that.
Which will be a pair of great Dark Angels and Sanguinius and Blood Angel.
I do like Sanguinius more now, so we'll take it.
From Ruinstorm?
I like Sanguinius more since the Siege of Terror.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm more into him. But yeah, he's all right in Ruinstorm.
All right.
All right, we'll be back.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.